Hello, thank you for watching my channel today. My name's Sarah and my channel is called Your True Shelf. It's been a while. I've been so rubbish at filming recently. It's just so busy. I feel like I start every single video by saying it's so busy, but it really is. Like weekends have just been really full with, like, I've been doing some extra work at weekends, and I've been teaching medical students and had teaching planning to do, and we've had sort of Christmas things and stuff like that, and it's just been every weekend has just been so busy, and my days off have been really busy. So not only has my filming kind of gone down quite a bit, but also the actual number of books that I've read has gone down. November, I'm going to do more of a Friday reads type video, even though it's not Friday and it hasn't been weekly, because I just read hardly anything in November, and so if I do a November wrap up, it will be really small. So I'm going to combine the books that I read in November with what I'm currently reading, so I can do a bit more of a loose structure, and then yeah, that's my plan for this video. So let's start with the books that I read in November. The first one that I read is one that was on loads of people's favourite books of the year list I think it was in about 2020, maybe 21, and that was Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. And my best friend very kindly bought me tickets to go and see the play of this in London, because as I said recently, I turned 40 in October, and so she got me tickets to go with her to see the play, which was fantastic. I really wanted to finish the book before I saw the play, but because of all the aforementioned busyness and things, I didn't get to finish it. I got about, 60 or 70% of the way through the book first. And it's probably a book that everyone knows the premise of already, but it's about William Shakespeare and his family. So it starts when he... it kind of goes back and forward in time. So from the earliest point of it was when he was kind of probably in his mid-teens, and his dad was a glove maker, and his dad was quite abusive, and he really didn't want to follow his dad into the family business, and so he's kind of just doing a bit of tutoring and bits and bobs really, and not really doing that much with his life. And then he meets a girl called Agnes, who is a very interesting character. So she is the daughter of the family that he is tutoring for, and she is very much like kind of like a wise woman. She makes the medicines for the local community, and she's got sort of psychic abilities and stuff like that. So she's a really interesting character. They marry and they go on to have 3 children. So they have a daughter, and they have twins, boy-girl twins, and Hamlet is one of these twins, and we know from the beginning that the book is about Hamlet's death, and it doesn't focus so much on William Shakespeare. It focuses much more on his wife and his parents and in-laws and his children. And he's very much, when all of this is going on, he's very much in London becoming a famous playwright and very successful, and his family have stayed where they were in the Midlands. And it was a really moving book. Maggie O'Farrell's writing is something that I really love, and I didn't actually realise, but Storygraph tells me that she's my most read author this year, that I've read 3 books by her. And her writing is just so lovely. I always say this about Maggie O'Farrell, but she manages to set a scene and give you lots of background in a couple of sentences. What would take a lot of authors 3 or 4 pages of description to write, Maggie O'Farrell manages to evoke in about a paragraph, and I always think she does that. As such a talent that she has. So I found this book was very engaging, very emotional. It was really lovely to read about the family relationships. I loved the kind of psychic women stuff in there as well. I really loved that. And just about what life was like in that time period, because you don't read very much that's set in that time period. And so, yeah, I thought it was really fantastic, and I really loved it as well. Star rating, I would say probably 4.5 stars for that one. The next book I read was one that was really, really hyped on BookTube. And I was really underwhelmed and disappointed by it. I think I wasn't planning on reading it at that period of time, but I'd forgotten that I'd reserved a copy of the audio from the library, and it came in and I had to listen to it then, and it was Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. So this is a cozy fantasy book, and I thought, you know, time of year, cozy, I love fantasy, excellent, but I was so underwhelmed. So it's about an orc called Viv, and Viv has gone from being this sort of warrior assassin type person to wanting to get away from that life and come and start afresh somewhere new. And she's got this sort of stone thing that she buries under the floor because it's supposed to bring her, like, take her to the right place and bring her luck and stuff. So she's come to this new town. She has bought like a stables from somebody, and they've never heard, people in this town have never heard of coffee, but Viv found coffee on her travels, and she really wants to open a coffee shop. She gets a local craftsperson to help her convert the stables into this lovely cafe, and then she kind of gets all the local people who are all different kind of, like, there's a succubus, there's like dwarves, all different kinds of like fantastical creatures who live there, and they all kind of build a community and everything, and it talks about baking and stuff like that, so it all sounds just lovely, but it just fell flat. I found it a bit formulaic. I didn't feel we got to know the characters that well. I found the characters quite two-dimensional. It was kind of like a children's story. There was some sapphic romance in there, which was nice, but I just didn't gel with this, unfortunately, and I'd been so excited to read it. But there is now a prequel called Bone Dust and something, but I'm not going to read that one because I'm not really that interested. So yeah, that one I'd say that's kind of like a 2.5 to 3 stars for me, that one. Then I listened to again. I really wanted something that I knew I would love after the disappointment of that. And so I started listening to The Something Girl by Jodi Taylor. So a couple of years ago, one of my favourite books of the year was The Nothing Girl by Jodi Taylor. And this is the sequel. I listened to them both on Audible, and I really love the narrator who does these books. And so it was the same one for both. There's also a couple of little novellas in between, and the same narrator narrates those as well. So if I tell you a bit about The Something Girl, because I can't obviously then tell you about The Nothing Girl, because, no, the other way around. I'll tell you about the first one, not the second one, because obviously spoilers. So we're following Jenny Dove, who is a young girl. She's kind of in her late teens or mid-teens when we open in book 1. And she has been raised by her uncle and aunt, and living with her cousins as well. She has a quite a bad stammer, and her aunt and uncle have been really terrible about this and made her believe that it means that she's not intelligent and that she has no confidence whatsoever to talk to anybody, and she spends most of her time in her attic bedroom at her aunt and uncle's house, and she's quite depressed. And right at the beginning of book 1, she is going to take an overdose, and all of a sudden when she's like doing this, then she sees this golden horse in her room, and this golden horse is called Thomas, and he's kind of like her guardian angel, really. They never use the term guardian angel. He's kind of just like someone who's like looking out for her, that's like a being that no one else can see apart from Jenny. And Thomas helps her and stays with her for a long time, trying to help her with her confidence and everything like that. And she ends up meeting this guy called Russell, and Russell is like this quite well-to-do artist who is very chaotic and lives life at a very fast pace and is very funny. And she ends up with Russell, and Russell kind of gets her away from her family and changes her life so much for the better. And then book 2 is focusing on her and Russell as a family, and it's very warm and loving and light-hearted and funny, and I'm always really sad to leave all the characters behind. It's called the Frogmorton series because the farm that Jenny and Russell live on is called Frogmorton. They have a collection of animals. It's all kind of bonkers in their life, but it's also just lovely and warming, and I really, really, really love this series. And I was googling, like, will there be a third Frogmorton series, a third book in the series? And the author's releasing another novella in the next year, so I've pre-ordered that. It was only 99p to pre-order, which is really nice, so I've done that. But yeah, I loved them. If you're looking for something heartwarming and cozy that will make you feel good, then go for the Frogmorton series. I've also got the first book in her other series. It's over there, what is it called, the St Mary's Chronicles. Yeah, she's got other series which I'm really looking forward to getting into as well. So that was a really good book for November. And then the final one, which seemed to take me forever to read, even though I was really enjoying it, was Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. So this was our work book club book this month, and it actually ended up being on, because we do a vote at the end of every year. We vote for our top 3 books from book club, and it ended up being tied second and third place was Project Hail Mary, so it was a really big success in our group. It's quite a long book, and the premise is that we are with a guy called Ryland Grace, who is a high school teacher. He was an academic, and he wrote a paper about life on other planets and how they may not, he had a theory that they didn't need water to survive, and he was kind of kicked out of the scientific community and ridiculed, so he gave up and became a high school teacher, which he absolutely loved. Or is it junior high teacher? I'm not really sure. I'm never quite sure what ages children are in American books. In terms of like schooling is different, ages are different things. Anyway, so yeah, he's the teacher. He's really happy, and then we find him waking up, not knowing where he is, figuring out he's on a spaceship. There's 2 dead people with him on the spaceship, and he has no clue what's going on. He can't even remember his name. He's lost his memory. And there's just like this AI, like robot thing who's been looking after him, and he's been in a coma. And then the book has dual timeline. So it keeps going back to when he is a teacher, and then also then the present on the spaceship. And basically we find out why he's on this spaceship, what he's gone to do. And I don't want to say anything that's going to really spoil it, so I'm going to be quite careful what I say. There's lots of science in this book, but it's done in a way where it's not heavy and it's not boring. I didn't understand a lot of the physics, but I was just like, I'm just going to go with it because I don't need to understand how he worked this out. I just need to understand that he's found a solution for this problem. And so that was like fun science. It wasn't boring at all. And it also talks about, there's definitely stuff about life on other planets, about space travel, and also about what humanity might need to sacrifice in the future, or what individuals would sacrifice for the greater good. And at times it was a little bit slower, and at times it was like massive cliffhangers, and I was like, oh my god, like I can't believe it's just cut off there and then gone back in time. I really need to know what's going to happen next. And the ending was like, you couldn't predict how it was going to end. So I really enjoyed that book. I found it like something completely different. Like, I'm not a big sci-fi reader, and I would never have picked this book up apart from for book club. And I'm really glad that I did, because it was a really great book. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. I'd say it's probably a 4-star, 4.5 stars, something like that. That was really good. So that was everything I read recently that I finished. And then I have a few that I'm currently reading. This book I've been reading for a while. This is a non-fiction book. And this is called Talking About Jane Austen in Baghdad, the true story of an unlikely friendship. And this is by B. Rowlatt and May Witwit. So B is a journalist for the BBC, and she has 3 little children, and she is just going back to work, and she's looking for somebody to interview. This is set around the time when America were in Baghdad, and when Saddam Hussein was removed from power and killed, and May is a woman who lives in Baghdad, and she, her and B are emailing. So the whole thing is written in emails. B really wants to hear about May's story about being a woman in Iraq, and what it's like, and it's pretty hideous. And also, it's really good to be hearing from a person who lives there rather than the narrative that we've been told on the news and stuff. And then May wants to hear about what it's like in Britain, and she wants to hear about normal things to take her out of the life she's in. She wants to hear about what the kids are doing at school, and she wants to hear about what it's like going back to work, and she wants to hear about like just British life in general, so that she can take herself out of her situation in her head and live a bit vicariously what it might be like to live not in the middle of a war zone. And they're forming this friendship, and they manage to get each other some gifts and different things, and reach each other. And I think they're going to meet up in real life in the end. But the reason I'm not reading it that quickly, so I am on page 126, and there are 368 pages, so I'm about a third of the way through. Because it's just emails, it's always interesting, but I suppose if I took any of my email conversations with anybody and published them, they would be more interesting to us than they would be to everyone else, I suppose. And also, you can't get outside of their heads because you're just reading their emails, so there's no kind of coming outside of the story and looking at the wider landscape or the wider community or anything like that. It's just between the two of them, so it's quite nice to dip in and read like a load of emails and then dip out and go back to something else again. So that's one thing that I'm reading. A book that I am so close to the end. I've got like, how many pages have I got left? About 50 pages left of Villette by Charlotte Bronte. So I have been mainly listening, some reading, but mainly listening to this with Jo Smith, who I buddy read with pretty much every month. This is my second Charlotte Bronte, so I read Jane Eyre a couple of years ago. Villette's been, I won't do like a full wrap up, obviously, because I don't know how it's going to end or anything yet. It's been a mixed bag. There have been chapters which I have absolutely loved and have found to be very engaging and really lovely, and there's been other chapters where they've either made me frustrated or a bit bored. It's basically about a girl called Lucy Snow who has no family, and she goes off to a place called Villette in France, which I thought Villette was a character, but Villette's a place, and she goes to be a tutor in a French girls' school. And it's about her life there, the people she meets there, the people she knew before she went. And so at the moment, I'm really not sure where I'm going to go star rating. Before the last section that I read, I was going to give it about a 3-star. And then the last section I read, the last 5 chapters, were really, really good. And so I think it's edged up a bit more now. But it's taken me a really long time to read this. I think we started this just about a month ago, and I still haven't finished it yet. So it's been a bit of a like up and down month, because I think I had more things on the go than I'm usually comfortable with, but it was all because of different things that were happening. So now I'm bringing the numbers down again. So yeah, the Jane Austen book, the Charlotte Bronte here, and then I made a video where I did my TBR for autumn and winter. And I put them all on my book trolley. And this is the first book that I have managed to pick from my book trolley because I overcommitted. I had too many deadlines. And now I'm just not in that place anymore. And so I went and picked a book. And I wanted to pick a really easy, happy, uplifting book. So I picked, this is just the dust jacket because the actual book is downstairs and I couldn't bother to go and get it. This is Walking on Sunshine by Giovanna Fletcher, who is a TV personality and author and podcaster and all-round lovely human being in the UK. And she is married to her high school boyfriend, Tom Fletcher, who was in the band McFly, which you will know if you are in the UK, but probably not anywhere else. And she has 3 little boys in real life. And you can see the knowledge that she's got from all of those things in this book. This book is about 3 people, so it's written from all 3 perspectives. We have Mike, who is a man, I would guess in his early 30s, who has sadly lost his wife to breast cancer recently and is trying to put his life back together. And then his wife's 2 best friends, Zaza and Vicky. Vicky is a mum to 2 really small children, and she's kind of, her whole life is chaos and stress, and she doesn't know who she is anymore. Zaza is engaged to a guy who she's not 100% sure if she wants to marry or not, and she's having like a bit of flirty banter with the guy at work, and we don't really know where that's going to go. And one night they all get together on what would have been Pia's birthday, who's the girl who died, and they all get a bit drunk and they find a note from Pia asking them to go on a trip together or do something spontaneous. And so they've decided they're going to go to Peru on a trek, and this is what's happening now. I'm about just over halfway through this book, and it is what I thought it would be. Even though it's talking about a death, it's not a book that's going to make you feel bleak, down, or anything like that. And yeah, it's kind of cute and funny and uplifting and relatable. Yeah, I'm enjoying it quite a bit so far. I think the kind of Christmassy scene on the front, maybe I want to read this. It's not set at Christmas so far, so I'm not sure why there's all the Christmassy things. But anyway, so yeah, that is what I'm reading at the moment. When I finish Villette, which will probably be in the next couple of days, then I'm going to start a reread for Remember December. So I'm going to read an audiobook again. The books that I'd like to read again are all big chunky books, and I just need light and easy at the moment for reading, I think. So I went through my Audible backlist and chose, I think that I've chosen Writers and Lovers by Lily King to be my re-listen, because I loved that book and I can still remember a lot about it, but I'd really love to read it again. It was like either that one or This Close to Okay by Lisa Cross-Smith, which I also really loved. I think I'm going to read Writers and Lovers because I read that earlier than This Close to Okay. But anyway, so that's kind of like my mix of wrap up and currently reading and future plans. I'm not planning any more books apart from I've got to read the book for book club for January. So this one I'm really not looking forward to at all. So if you've read it and you've got anything happy to say about it, then tell me. So for book club for January, we're reading Salt Lick by Lulu Allison. That was a Booker long lister a couple of years ago, and it's like a kind of post-apocalyptic cli-fi type book, and I do not like those kind of books. So I'm going to give it a try. I've ordered it from the library and it's on its way. I'm going to give it a try and see what I think. But if I'm not enjoying it, I'm not going to spoil my Christmas mood by forcing myself to read it. So we're completely fine in book club if people try a book and decide to DNF it. That doesn't happen that often, but people are still very welcome to come to the book club and like hear about people's thoughts and stuff, even if they've DNF'd the book. So I will see how I get on. I might love it, you never know. It might just be like starting a new thing that I really love. But anyhow, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to go. I hope everyone's having a really nice December. I hope it's nice and relaxing. I hope that you have lots of Christmas magic if you celebrate Christmas, and I will try and get back on it with my filming again. Anyway, I will speak to you all soon. Bye.